Okay, I would like to take this time and welcome everyone, all of our guests that are present and also that are viewing online. If I can have an adoption of the agenda.
Move to adopt the agenda as presented.
Do I have a second?
Second.
Okay, all in favor, raise your right hand and say aye.
Aye.
Thank you, none opposed. All right. Before we have our superintendent's report from Dr. Buck, I just would like to say to all of our students and staff, hope you have a wonderful holiday season as you're out for your winter break, and have fun, and we look forward to seeing you back in January. Dr. Buck?
All right, good evening, everybody. Thanks for attending. Superintendent Report 2.01. Have several things to read off here for you. So, Lee Summit High School 22-23 Reflector Yearbook was one of only 47 yearbooks selected as finalists for National Yearbook Pacemaker Award. So, congratulations to them. And you can see those fine, young students on our social media. You see the picture of those folks who worked on that. Lee Summit North cheerleaders, they won the state championship in cheerleading, and Lee Summit High took third place, so congratulations to both them. Lee Summit West teacher Mei Lee was selected as one of the winners of the 2024 Heartland Chinese Teacher Award, recognizing educators teaching Chinese in the region. I can't remember how many states, but it's many states here in the Midwest, for creative curriculum, positive impact on students and community, so congratulations to Mei Lee. Members of Lee Summit West robotics team had their proposal selected as one of 20 finalists for the Burns and McDonald Battle of the Brains competition. They were one of 700 applicants, and the Battle of the Brains van pulled up and surprised them at the school a few weeks ago. So congratulations to the West robotic team and their sponsors. Mason and Hawthorne Hill assistant principal Ashley Emming was recognized as outstanding assistant principal by the Kansas City Elementary Principals Association. She's our region's winner and one of 11 statewide, and we surprised her at Mason Elementary a couple weeks ago, so congratulations to Ashley Emming. Students from all three high schools competed last month in the Ray-Peck Art Invitational. Lee Summit West won the event, and 3 students were awarded scholarships to area colleges for their work, so congratulations to Gwen King, London Jones, and Ashley Blake. There's still a few more days to see LSR7 art students work in the real world. Students from every high school and 3 of our middle schools painted windows in downtown Lee Summit. I encourage everyone to go down and check it out. It did a great job. Congratulations to STA Digital student Grady Matheson. His electronic music composition titled Speed of Light was selected first place winner of the 2023 MMEA Electronic Music Composition Contest. Classmate Philip Wolf, received third place for his competition titled Rebirth. And we just had an announcement of several other winners I didn't get in here, and you can see it again that on our Facebook page. Lee Summit High School Charlie Clark has received All-State honors in boys soccer. We did some All-State honors last month, but we've had some come up out for certain sports after that. And then the next chunk of All-State honors are on football. First, we'll start with Lee Summit North. Isaiah Mosey, junior receiver, was first team All-State. William Waneri was senior defensive lineman and #1 recruit in the nation, first team All-State. And Tanner Howes, senior back, was a second team All-State honor. And then I'll switch over to West. And West High School had Quincy Torrey, Devin Wilson, and Jack Fosno were all third team All-State honors. We also had 5 academic All-State athletes: Jackson Torrey, Grant Ford, Caden Carter, AJ Fain, and Joshua O. So congratulations to them. To all the choirs from elementary up to high school who've been going all over our community, including stopping here, City Hall and other places, thank you for spreading holiday cheer. You've been fantastic. The life skill students at North probably were my favorite because they made us dance with them when they came and sang, so kudos to them. I appreciate that, and I echo your sentiments. Have a wonderful break, happy holidays, and we'll see you in January. That brings us to our next item, presentation recognitions. 3.101, Spotlight is Longview Farm Elementary. There she is. By the way, the playground voice here, you do need a mic because we are online. We also want to say she is retiring this year, so we might want to give her a round of applause just for that. She earned it, board member Murdoch, no booze.
Okay, our first thing tonight that we would like to do is honor our Volunteer of the Year.
And I found this, and like every good elementary principal, you have a quote or a saying. The heart of a volunteer is not measured in size, but by the depth of the commitment to make a difference in the lives of others. So tonight, we would like to honor Jennifer Baker. Come on up, Jennifer. And we did not tell her to wear purple, but right here, perfect. Jennifer Baker is one of a kind. I've worked with her my entire tenure at Longview Farm, and there isn't a job that she won't do. Jennifer's generous with her time and is always looking for ways to help and improve our school. She's proactive with a goal in mind. She cleans out closets, pops popcorn, balances the books for PTA, has led the PTA, takes pictures, donates supplies, plans parties, cares for students and staff, and on the side makes incredible cinnamon rolls. Jennifer has been and continues to be invested in our school and has dedicated countless hours of her time and resources over the years. I'm proud to honor you tonight with this award and to call you my friend. Thank you for serving LFE so well, and we know that PLMS and Lee Summit West will benefit from your services as well. Congratulations.
Principal Hassler, we're going to have all of you come up with the board and get a photo, and Ms. Bergen's going to come up and take a picture.
Each year, we have a theme at Longview Farm, and this year it is Be Like Lula. And for those of you who aren't familiar, Lula Long Combs was the daughter of R.A. and Ella Long, and our campus is named after her. We took some of the character traits to use as our guide this year at school, so we wanted to show you a little bit of just a quick video of the options of belonging at Longview Farm and where students have an opportunity to be like Lula.
Principal Hassler and Whaley, let the Stallion Choir know they came here today. We love the reindeer. There's Matt. Matt was here doing the reindeer. And also, really kudos to the solo rap by Miss MG. I never seen a kid own a rap so much as I saw MG owned it today. So, and they'd called her MG during the middle of the rap, so I'm calling her MG. You have anything else? All right, next item is 3.02, School Spotlight, Bernard Campbell Middle School. And we have Principal Joe Scalfaro up.
Good. It's always tough going after the elementary schools. I'd like to have Ms. Fogel come up. She's assistant principal at Campbell, and she's worked really hard reestablishing our PTSA the last couple years, and she's going to introduce our Volunteer of the Year.
So I'm really excited to introduce Michelle Collins. Please come up. So I was able to meet Michelle, and we really started off with a PTSA of nobody? Nobody. And our goal was really to just bring a lot more activities for our students outside of school, but then also provide some great opportunities for our staff. So she is there every month celebrating our staff by giving them little treats. Also, she stayed up last year on Teacher Appreciation and made over 90 cups for our staff. So she just showers love and also gets our other parents involved, and we just really appreciate you. So thank you so much for being our Volunteer of the Year. You're welcome.
Okay, so this year we started a Principals Advisory Council, and we have about 35 kids that we chose by application. And what we were looking to do was get some student voice and perspective, and through their lens on how to change our school, enhance the student experience. That's one of their goals. They're a very goal-oriented group. They created goals when we started out. And the main goal is to enhance the student experience, and it's through their lens. Often we make choices at schools that are through the adult lens, and we really try to be student-centered, and everything we're doing is through the eyes of the students. So we have leaned on the kids for lots of feedback, and they've told us lots of things like as far as bell schedule, congestions in the hallways, and one of the big things they're going to work on second semester is incentive parties for each quarter, and they bring a lot to the table for us, and we learn a lot from them every time we meet. We've met, I think, 4 times this school year. So I'm going to have them come up so I can showcase a few of them. We have, like I said, we have over 30. I think there's like 35, but we just brought a few of them tonight. And we have a couple that actually wanted to speak. We didn't say they had to speak, so they volunteered to speak, which is a big deal. Anytime we can get our kids out in front of the public and doing some public speaking, it's a great thing. So I'm going to start off with Vanessa, right? You ready to go? Okay. Here's the mic.
Our PAC group addresses problems and finds solutions. We have the freedom to say what we want without getting judged by others around us. I personally like on how everyone gets a chance to share their ideas and problems. And I'm excited to see where PAC will go in further years.
And this is Wyatt. Wyatt was kind of put on the spot today. He's kind of substituting for someone that was absent. So you ready to roll, Wyatt? All right, buddy.
Having a principal advisory council is one of the best things a school can do to the students. The students serving on the principal advisory council represents our diverse student body. This is very important to make sure that all students' opinions are heard and understood. Having a principal advisory council gives the students a voice and helps show that the administration cares about the students and wants to hear their point of view and ideas. Thank you for the school board and BCMS administrations for the commitment to make our school a better place for all students.
If anybody has any questions, we'd be happy to ask them or answer them.
Any questions from any board members? No, we just want to say, Ms. Miller?
I don't have questions. I was just going to say thank you for the work that you're doing in your school to make it a better place and make it a welcoming place for everybody.
Absolutely. Thank you for your hard work.
All right. Now moving on to board reports or meetings attended. Next up is item 4.01, Finance Committee report. Any questions?
I don't have a question, but I actually just wanted to highlight one one item that we're going to be approving in our items for decision that we discussed in the Finance Committee. I don't know if the entire board had a chance to view that, but even if you have, I'm just going to bring up the prepayment that we are making for one of our 2016 series bonds, simply because I just kind of want to, again, appreciate our business services team for doing such great work, because that prepayment, for the benefit of everyone else who hasn't watched the Finance Committee meeting, is going to save the district over $10 million in interest payments. And I just think that's an incredible thing that our team has done to capture that savings and make this recommendation to the board. So if the board does approve that, then that's something that our district will realize and be able to use those funds for education-related things back to our staff, teachers, our students. So that's the only item in that I wanted to call attention to, unless the board has any questions on the heels of the Finance Committee meeting yesterday.
Okay, I don't see any questions.
All right, our next item is 4.02, board reports or meetings attended.
All right, we're going to start with you, Board Member Eslake.
Okay. Just really quick, a couple of these events that I attended, many of our other board members attended, so I'm sure everyone will have a chance to call out some of those. Several of us visited the Liberty School District and toured their Epic Elementary School and Edge High School programs, which was a great opportunity to see how those schools are implementing their different learning styles and project-based learning. So that was really educational, really appreciate the coordination. I attended a Future Business Leaders of America grant-funded, student-led groups intro night. Whew, that's a lot there. At Lee Summit High School with Board President Sparks. The group was called Unify, and this organization was focused on education against racially based hate. So it was just an intro meeting, so there wasn't a lot to it, but these kids are trying to get this off the ground, so that was really interesting. I attended dinner with the board, which I believe most everybody was able to make. So that was, again, an engaging night. We had better attendance than the first one, so we're improving, and I think we had some really great conversation with community members. Attended the Board Policy Committee meeting as well. We completed reviewing the D series, which are the finance policies for the district. We expect that they're going to have a new release of MSBA policies. So even though D series actually completes our policy committee reviews charge for the year, we're going to be reviewing MSBA policies that come out probably in the next couple of months. So that's what we're going to be doing for the second half of the school year, which then the board will review subsequently. I also attended the Lee Summit Ed Foundation's Board of Directors meeting. Just a, mark your calendar kind of note, March 17th, the Ed Foundation is partnering to present a Wellbeing Summit Parent Guardian Night. So that's kind of a resource fair that's going to be put out for the benefit of really families, parents, guardians, information about social media, mental health and well-being resources. So it's going to be a very interesting resource. Ed Foundation also wrapped up the Major Saver campaign, and they netted about $64,000, which might sound low, but we also had a campaign in February. We're trying to reschedule where we do Major Saver, so we technically had 2 this year, so it's actually a pretty good turnout. So those funds will be distributed to the schools who participated. And then, of course, I attended Finance Committee meeting, so thank you.
Board Member Miller?
Okay, so this month, well, this is for November and December, I attended the Business Roundtable, which is an opportunity to meet with local business community and have open discussion of the happenings in Lee Summit. I also had the opportunity to support our Lee Summit West Theater Department with my family in their production of Mean Girls, and wow, it was an amazing production. Our young people are incredibly talented. Kudos to the young people that dedicated their time and talent, and also to our Lee Summit West theater leaders for another amazing show. It just reminds us that when our students are given the opportunity to use their gifts, they will shine and thrive. I was able to go to Hawthorne Hill Elementary and sit in on a coping skills lesson with the school counselor there, Jennifer Bigger. And what an invaluable lesson our kids are getting. It's real world learning opportunities when it comes to learning coping skills, being able to identify their emotions and give them tools to support those emotions. And just think of the adults that we're raising with a toolbox full of coping skills. So kudos to Dr. Segan and her amazing student support staff, of all of our support staff in the district. I also had the opportunity to join in on the PLMS pep rally to start off winter sports, which was a lot of fun, to see the students, excited, and also to see the staff members engaging on stage, which, the students love to see that. I had the opportunity to attend Parents of Struggling Readers group, which is an amazing group created by parents and also teachers and staff of the district. And their focus is to advocate for students and families with kiddos struggling in the area of reading and dyslexia. They had a great turnout, and it was so great to see several of my fellow board members there. There was 4 of us there, which was awesome, and they really appreciated all of the board support. I had the opportunity to tour Greenwood, and we also had a great work session with the CAC. And really my favorite part of touring schools, aside from meeting our incredible staff and seeing the amazing work they're pouring into our kids, is to see how uniquely different each school really is, and to see that each school really attempts to create environments that are inviting, welcoming, and say that you belong in that space. So I love that. I had the opportunity to attend the Chamber Holiday Reception, which is a great night that brings local businesses, nonprofits, and community together. And their theme this year was Better Together. And I love that because it's such a good reminder that we are truly better when we work together. Dinner with the board, as Board Member Eslick said, it was a good turnout. I just want to say thank you to all of the community that came out to participate in that event. My favorite part was definitely having our young people there who did speak up and took over the microphone and joined in the discussion, so that was great. I also attended the CAC meeting, but I forgot to take a photo of the CAC meeting, so with Ryan's permission, he gave me permission to use his photo here. And I'm ending with this just as a reminder of how important it is for all of us adults to tap into our creativity and playful side. This was a fun activity that Dr. Barger let us in. We all got Play-Doh, and I think we probably, all of us as a board, would admit that we had a little fun being able to do that. And who knew that Ryan could create such a masterpiece with Play-Doh? So thank you.
Board Member Murdoch?
It's at the Louvre right now.
No, I'm sorry. Leave that picture up for his report, please. No.
Just 4 brief things. Went to a robotics meet at ETMS, which was fantastic to watch kids from around the area compete in robotics. Been to numerous sporting events, theater events over the last month at various schools across the district, which are also good. It's been nice because I've been trying to get out away from PLMS stuff to other things, obviously across the district, so that's been good. Appreciate Greenwood hosting us for the work session. That was fantastic to go through, especially to hear the differences in the age of the building, especially knowing that it would be coming up in our next bond issue to do even more improvements to that building, which I think are probably going to be well received and much needed at Greenwood Elementary. And lastly, I just wanted to give a quick shout out to Principal Scalfaro. I know he had to leave already, but Bernard Campbell and Underwood Elementary graciously hosted the wheelchair basketball tournament a few weeks ago. 14 teams from 10 states came, and the staff there, they got it ready. The custodial staff throughout the weekend, absolutely unreal and dynamite hosts. They had everything ready to go early, often, and were there 12 hours each day for us on Saturday and Sunday to help make that a success. And so sincere thank you to the Underwood staff, Bernard Campbell staff, and the principals and custodial staffs of those 2 schools.
Thank you. Board Member Garrett.
Thank you. So early in December, I also attended the Liberty Tour of, I guess it was the elementary EPIC and high school EDGE programs that they have. They were very unique in their learning, what they're starting there. Anyway, it was kind of fun to participate at, kind of get along with the students and kind of figure out how they're getting along with their programs. So then I had the Lee Summit annual holiday reception that same day. It was a busy day that day. And then also the parents of struggling readers. There was, I think you said there was 4 of us there, so that was a nice turnout. A great turnout of parents that really want to do more for their struggling readers. So it was a very good turnout. I was really happy to see all that turned out. And then we also had the Greenwood tour. That was great to see what's going to be needing improvements upon there. And then the work session with the CAC. Dinner with the board, that was a great turnout as well. It was very nice to see a lot more faces that came this time. And then we had the MSBA question and answer session. So, we attended. That was kind of fun. Just kind of getting to see the other school districts and where they're at with their superintendent evaluation. Thank you. I was trying to think of the word. And then December 14th, we had the Team Lee Summit meeting, and it was great getting together to kind of review the survey questions that went out to the school district. We got together in groups and kind of also figured out where our strengths and opportunities are for Lee Summit School District. So, and that was pretty much all I had. Thank you.
Thank you. Dr. Justin?
Good evening, everyone. So I just have brief attendances for the last month. So I attended most recently the Finance Committee meeting. I also did dinner with the board where we did the World Cafe setup. And what I'm really excited about is to figure out, now that we have gathered all this information, how we're going to use that data to improve what we're doing with the schools. I also attended the MSBA Zoom, which was the superintendent evaluation pilot. For those of you who don't know, we're in a pilot with MSBA to help formalize superintendent evaluation. I have to say that LSR7 already had good workings with what they're doing with how they evaluated Dr. Buck. Dr. Buck always comes prepared with his PowerPoints and tells us how he's doing and what he's doing and what he's working on. And so although we don't have this specific rubric that MSBA gave it to us, the pilot, I think we were able to fit in very well with what they presented to us, and I think we've come a long way in terms of where we are with getting it done in the formalization of it. Some other school boards didn't have this based on the calls we had with other people on, But I want to say that I think LSR7 is in a really good spot, and that next year will be even better off in terms of meeting some of the requirements that they like to have around timelines. Thank you.
Thank you. Vice President Foley.
Thank you. This last month, I attended the Lee Summit West production of Mean Girls. I attended the board leadership meeting. I attended the Parents of Struggling Readers meeting and the community conversation, AKA dinner with the board. I attended the government relations committee, the audit committee, and then President Sparks and I met with Jackson County court staff to discuss opportunities for investing in the potential for Hilltop. Thank you.
Thank you. I attended many, if not all, of those meetings. I'm just going to add just a little bit more dialogue just around 2 items. The one with Judge Otto. So I know that in the past, there's been many conversations about some of the needs that are needed out at Hilltop. And so we are kind of starting the conversations on what are the opportunities that we can take. We know that we have 4 legislators that were former board members, and so we want to continue to have those relationships of being able to leverage that support because they know what it is to be in these seats leading the school district. And so ultimately, we know that there's a county piece, there's a court piece because there's residential, so there's kids that actually live there. And then obviously we send students there also as students, and then they have a AM, PM. And so one of the things that really came out of that was trying to do full day, and what does that look like and what will it take to do it. And so, our focus is to prepare each student. And so when we talk about each student, regardless where you at, right? If you're under the confines of LSR7, we should make sure that we're providing the best education. And so that's one of the conversations that me, Vice President Foley, Dr. Buck, and then also Dr. Shelton have kind of had as we get more in depth of what are some of those asks, what are some of the needs that will need to come to the full board because ultimately that's not a decision that just the 2 of us can be able to make. And so wanted to kind of give you guys an update on that. Also, Lee Summit Cares, they did hire a new executive director. And so that executive director, I'm not going to reveal who he is because they have not announced it publicly, but I'm excited. The hiring team is very excited about the future of that organization and what they do for Lee Summit. One of the things I would like to encourage you all to come to is the Mayor's Character Breakfast. And so if you're able to attend, that is January, I believe it's the 25th. And so if you could, please be there for that. I believe all board members will be able to have a ticket. Just let get one ticket, just let Miss Linda know that you would like to attend and she can take care of that. Other than that, continue the great work that we're doing as a board. There's other work sessions and things that we're going to be talking about to just help us to get better. And that's what my desire is for us as a board, is just to get better, right? To learn, get better day to day. And so to the board, I personally want to say thank you for the work that you all do. We're going into the holiday time, so take these next couple weeks where the district's off and enjoy your families because we sacrifice a lot, and I appreciate what you all do from this dais. So thank you.
Thank you, board. Next item decision, finance 5.01, approved transfer of funds.
I move to approve the transfer of $5,120,589.66 from the general fund to the special revenue fund.
Okay, do I have a second?
Second.
Okay, any discussion? Okay, all in favor, raise your right hand, say aye.
Aye.
And opposed? Okay, motion passes.
Next item is 5.02, approval of treasurer's report and payment of bills.
I move to approve the treasurer's report and the payment of the bills.
Do I have a second?
Second.
Okay, all in favor, raise your right hand. Any question, discussion? No? All right, all in favor, raise your right hand, say aye.
Aye.
All right, none opposed, motion passes.
Next item is 5.03, approval of the audit.
I move that the Board of Education approve the 2022-2023 audit as presented.
Do I have a second?
Second.
Okay. Presentation, we're going to hear from.
That is up to you. We don't need to, but we can.
Okay. So I will tell you that myself, Vice President Foley, we sat in on the budget meeting. The board has the full report. If there's any questions that you may have, the gentleman that he knows all of the numbers and all the information, he can ask any of those questions. Vice President Foley? Can you just kind of give us a very high-level overview and basically any recommendations that you had for the district moving forward?
This is John Cummings from KPM, CPAs and Advisors.
Thank you very much, and good evening to everyone. Thanks for the time to present. I will try and be very brief because the meeting seems to be moving quite well. So, seems like people are on a mission. So, well, you should have a bound booklet. Page 4 is where I'm going to start. I will keep the comments very high level. While you're kind of getting organized on that, there's also 2 letters. One has the recommendations, it's the management letter, and then the other is a letter to those charged with governance, which has required communication from us to all of you about how the audit went. And it's our last chance to really tattle on anybody about, whether there were disagreements with management or any concerns or whatever. And I'll spoil it, there's nothing in that that's going to be earth-shattering or upsetting or even exciting. It's very standard. Everybody was incredibly helpful during the audit process. If you've not been through a financial statement audit and a federal grant award audit, you may not know, but there is a lot of information that gets requested and has to be provided, and we don't do it on people's day off. It's during the middle of their normal business that they have to conduct. And so this audit really is a reflection of everybody in the business services offices and all of the efforts that have gone into doing a good job and meeting the coding requirements and all the different things that are necessary to get a clean audit. And that kind of spoils a little bit of page 4, but the opinion that was rendered on the financial statements is what's known as an unmodified or a clean opinion. That's the best possible result, and it is the same as you received last year, so you do have a track record of clean audits, but it does help with bond ratings and that sort of thing, and it looks good. So congratulations to the district on that. Real quick on financial information, page 12 of your book should be the statement of receipts, disbursements, and changes in fund balances. And in the general fund, the district went up by $2,904,394, ended the year with $81,650,402. So a good year in the operating fund of the district. In the debt service fund, it declined by $9,940,633, ended the year with $32,036,932. There was an escrow sitting there ready to pay off debt, so the district ended up paying right at $30 million of principal on long-term debt during the 22-23 fiscal year. So that's a very big positive for the district moving forward. On the capital projects fund, as everyone knows, there's been a lot of construction that's been ongoing, and you're spending down bond funds. Whenever bond funds come into the district, it's a revenue in that year because you're cash basis. And so whatever is unspent at the end of that first year of issuance, you will basically have in your reserves, and then your cash balances will come down as you proceed through your project. And so that's continued for 22-23. The capital projects fund decreased by $63,380,575. So at the end of 2023, you have $47,537,857 in Fund 4, or the capital projects fund. If you take out, you see there's a $63 million decrease. But if you kind of look in the middle of the page there, facilities acquisition and construction expenses were $67,555,000. So if you were to take that out, actually the capital projects fund increased. So looks really positive on all of that. So good job to the district on budgeting and managing funds. So any questions on that? Okay. Part of the audit is actually doing a federal audit called a single audit, and there are requirements, and I won't get into all that. We did all that in the audit committee, but we ended up having to test 2 federal programs this year, Title I grants to LEAs, and then the Education Stabilization Funds, or ESSER funds program was tested. So that covers 46% of total federal awards, and the district had no compliance findings on that. So overall, very
Can you
good.
explain why we had to test those two?
Okay, so kind of the Cliff's Notes version is that you have programs that are over $750,000 and programs that are below it. And if it's over $750,000, it has to be audited in the first year it goes over $750,000, or every third year, or if you need coverage. So there's some ors there. But last year there were actually 4 major programs that were tested. And last year there were no findings because the district did a good job of meeting those compliance requirements. For those that may not know, the federal government puts out the OMB compliance supplement on an annual basis, and each granting agency has a list of program compliance requirements that really matter to them and tell auditors how to test it. And so we have to follow all of that in our testing, and it can be a little bit strenuous to meet all of those requirements. So again, kudos to the whole district really for meeting that, because compliance with those federal program compliance requirements really is a district thing. It's not just business services, although that's part of it, but it's also the people that are helping put together budgets and actually spending the funds and administering the programs and all the things. So a very positive reflection on the district. So can't say enough good things about the outcomes there. So good job. If you look at page 51 of that bound booklet, you'll see that there's a schedule of findings and question cost, and it's a good snapshot of the audit outcomes. And it shows basically that you've received your unmodified opinion. There were no internal control findings on the financial statement side, and on the federal awards side as well. Also no material noncompliance to be reported either on the financial statement side or on the federal grant side. So again, good job to the district. For those that may not know, at the bottom of that table it says auditee qualified as a low-risk auditee, and says no. That does not mean you are a high-risk auditee because you are modified cash basis accounting, and there's no state law requiring that. The federal government says you have to test at least 40% of federal awards, and so this is just communicating that to them. So you can see at the bottom of the page, there's nothing to report on financial statement findings or federal award findings and question cost. So altogether, very good results there. So with that, there's 2 letters that are separate from the bound booklet. Real quick, there are some commendations in this. You're wanting me to go through this, I think, right?
Yes, please.
Okay. We'll go real fast. So item 1 is purchase cards and related purchases. For many years here, the district's been trying to get a handle on the P-card situation in the district because there were a lot of them that were issued to employees. And it was very difficult to manage that in the business services offices and keep good controls over that activity. Now, the activity is a good thing because there are rebates that come back to the district off of the purchases that are made using those. So you want to be able to use the P-cards in a way that is controllable so that you can maximize safely the amount of rebates the district gets back. So it's been kind of an ongoing process. So this has been here for several years, but the business office has made some very good strides in both getting the number of cards that were outstanding down, and then also getting some internal audit procedures into place that would help make it a manageable process without being overly taxing on the personnel that were in that office. So we're commending the district on the efforts to accomplish all of that. So on the next page, there's...
Wait.
Okay.
Say what you said upstairs. What's going to happen to this item?
Oh, most importantly, whenever we commend, I should have mentioned this. I take a lot of things for granted sometimes, but whenever we commend, when we go from a recommend to a commend, that's the last time you're going to see it unless something changed and brought the situation back. So no more purchase cards and related purchases in your report. So congratulations and Merry Christmas. So on the next page, procurement policy clarification. There were some questions in district about how to define what type of purchase or purchase split would qualify for the different spending thresholds that existed throughout the district. And some purchases were maybe being split into multiple transactions in order to stay under a threshold. And that was last year's situation. That was addressed and corrected in this year, so we're commending on that one as well. So it will also be going away, so thanks to the district for putting the effort to review that process and clarify with the employees of the district what the actual intent of the policy was. The third item was somewhat controversial. It was here last year relating to crowdfunding and social network fundraising. And the district started the process during 22-23 of addressing this particular item, like a lot of districts are trying to address it, because it's new and it's not, it's not a simple topic, honestly. It's very difficult to develop a policy on managing fundraising through social network platforms. And a lot of districts are struggling with this at the moment. MSBA's been talking about a policy that would cover this as well. So I think the district's kind of waiting to see what they come out with, which is perfectly reasonable, and trying to then either adopt that or amend and adopt that to best suit the needs of the district. So
I believe Vice President Foley want to weigh in.
Yes, with this, pardon the interruption. I just wanted to ask Dr. Buck real quick if he could just speak to this topic, since it is kind of pending and we don't have a real clear policy. If you could just briefly summarize, if a teacher or a staff member is encountering this right now, where should they look to guidance on this topic?
So I would encourage you, anytime we have like an Amazon wish list, include your building principal. We gave out some protocols last year about that. But that's really where this is hard, right? Because we know that we have a giving community and want to support our teachers. But John's not wrong also that then there's lack of accounting because it's not coming through our normal purchasing services and the protocols and protections we have there. So it was a hot topic last year in the audit committee. I think you were on it, right, Board Member Murdoch? We had, I think, 10 community members on there. I don't think we all agreed on what we should do, and that's why we said, let's see what MSBA comes out, because we want to encourage the support. We also want to make sure we do things in a fiscally responsible way as well.
Thank you. Thank you for that.
Okay, well, I would say, just to echo your point, it is a very difficult balance to strike between getting the benefit of a giving community and managing it with controls that are representative of what the district wants to have. And I'm not going to stand here and say that's easy. And so I recognize the need to proceed with caution here. So I guess what I'm saying is it's perfectly fine to proceed with caution and give it the time it needs to work out the policy that's right for the district. The fourth item is another commendation. It deals with cross-training of personnel. The business office went through quite a bit of transition a few years back and had quite a few fresh faces, and those people have been training and developing and getting more comfortable with their jobs and being able to implement new internal controls and review procedures and train other new employees, and it's been interesting to watch. But again, this audit's a reflection of the effort that has gone into the quality of product in the accounting realm, and so that cross-training is paying off. And so we do recommend that you continue it. It's good as a control measure, but it's good practically. If someone wins the lottery, you can still make payroll, So if somebody leaves their job unexpectedly, you've got backup now. So that's a good thing for the district. Item 5 is new accounting pronouncements. There are 2. One's effective right now, one's effective next fiscal year. The first one deals with accounting changes and error corrections, so pretty minor to deal with. And then also GASB 101, compensated absences, deals with what shouldn't be included in the compensated absence formula. Mostly just petty type leaves wouldn't go into that calculation. And the 6th thing on the list is cybersecurity and internal controls, and it deals with kind of what to do if in the course of communicating with a vendor, they ask you to change your account information or wire information. What we've seen at 3 of my clients actually was attacks that actually hit them and went through. And they were for varying amounts. One was 2.3 million, one was 987,000, and the other was around 250,000. So oddly, the $2.3 million one was able to recover everything that they lost, even though it was a week before they realized they'd messed up. Secret Service was very helpful, so kudos to the Secret Service. They were able to track it down over a series. It took them 2 months to get it gathered back up and back to the district. What that district learned was that just calling the vendor to check on the validity of who they're talking to isn't quite enough. You have to ask the right questions. So this gives kind of some questions and things to think about and helps to ask the right questions that would, throw the flag on the thing if it is fraudulent and further protect the district from what might be just in the rush of trying to get through a day. So that's really what this is about. And hopefully, I know that the district's actually been targeted a couple of times, and the people in there have caught it for what it was, and so there hasn't been an issue. So good job, and keep up the good work. So any questions on the audit?
Thank you for that presentation. Is there any additional questions from anyone? Okay, if I can have a motion. Oh, we already have the motion, we already have the second. So all in favor, raise your right hand and say aye. Aye. None opposed? Motion passes. Thank you very much, sir.
All right, thank you all. Have a good night.
Thank you, John, for coming, and also thank you to community members who came for the hour-long audit committee. Next up is items for decision, 6.01 to 6.25.
Okay. Do I have a motion for consent items?
I move to approve the consent agenda as presented.
Second.
Okay. Do any discussion? All right. All in favor, raise your right hand and say aye.
Aye.
None opposed? Motion passes.
Next up is items for decision, 7.01, Blue Accessibility Contract.
Okay. I know that the board is very familiar with what this is for, but I know that there were some questions that wanted to be asked around this topic. And so Dr. Shelton, correct?
Yes, either, or Kyle Gorell as well, if Kyle wants to come up as well. So Kyle worked on the RFP. We had 2 people fill out the RFP. Kyle kind of did a national search for people doing this work and made sure they knew about our RFP. Our architects thought it was going to be $350,000 to $400,000. So this being $155,000, we're tickled pink. It's much lower than what we originally thought it was going to be. And they're out of Colorado, I do believe, and they really do a lot of parks and places like that. So Kyle, do you want to mention anything else?
Before we start, just for the board's sake, this is, one of the goals that we have set, and one of the things that came out of the goals was an accessibility audit, and so that's what this presentation is. So, Mr. Grell.
Thank you, President Sparks. Yes, as Dr. Buck mentioned, we were very pleased with the price that we received for this service. The firm that is being proposed tonight is a specialty accessibility firm. They have certified and accredited accessibility consultants that work exclusively in that area field. And so that work has led to an efficiency that allows them to do this work very quickly. So their work will evaluate all of our facilities according to Section 504 and Title 2 of the ADA. So as you know, we are required to provide access to all of our public services and programs. It will be a very, very thorough evaluation. They will measure and verify access ways, clear floor areas, slopes, grades inside and outside the building, reach heights both horizontally and vertically, proper knee spaces. There are literally hundreds of items through the ADA document that will be verified on each facility. They will also at the end provide us with a usable tool that we can keep track of, edit, and monitor our progress as we make improvements over the years. So I'll be glad to answer any further questions.
Okay, Vice President Foley.
Thank you. So I just wanted to ask, just for the benefit of anybody that hasn't been following our prior meetings or seen our prior discussions about this, could you briefly go into what your understanding is of why we made this request and why you think bringing in an outside vendor can provide a good service for this request?
It's a great question. Yes, and as you'll notice in this submittal item, we did group our buildings in some categories. The why behind this is because to go back in time in the early 90s, when the ADA was passed initially, we hired a consultant. It was actually Gould Evans, who is still one of our architects that we work with now. And they developed our initial ADA transition plan. And so there was a group of buildings that were a part of that initial study. Well, as you can imagine, from the 90s up until now, we've built a lot of buildings, we've made a lot of improvements, and even buildings that were designed according to ADA at the time, they could have had changes made. There can be a lot of just user manipulations to buildings that affect accessibility requirements. So this study will go back through not only those original buildings, but all of our new buildings that have since been built, and look for those operational changes that could have impacted different groups that have accessibility needs.
Thank you.
Board Member Murdoch?
I appreciate this item very much. That's all.
Any other questions or concerns? All right, thank you all very much. All right, so can I have a motion for this item?
I move that the board approve the award of a contract to Blue Accessibility for $155,240 as detailed in the attachments.
Second.
Okay, all in favor, raise your right hand, say aye.
Aye.
None opposed, motion passes.
Our next item for decision is 7.02. It's a resolution in opposition to landfill and support for Senate Bill 739, House Bill 1436, and House Bill 1751. I'm going to speak to this one really quick. We passed a similar resolution last year for the Mike Hafner House bill. This year, obviously, that he's filed that same bill, but it's now 1751, has a different number. And then we have two other bills. Senate Bill 739 is a companion bill that Senator Searpoy has done compared to 1751. And then 1436 is done by Representative Gallick with support of Representative Engel. And it gives the school boards the chance to say yay or nay to a landfill within a certain distance to the school district. Currently, it's listed as a mile, but it could go down to half a mile. So just let you know, full transparency, I reached out to Representative Gallick and had conversations with her prior to House Bill 1436 being filed. So I thank her for taking that conversation and filing that bill. I believe there is another bill in the Senate, but I have not seen that bill, so we could expand this if you wanted to, if somebody wanted to add to it. But I think it'd be important to at least have this resolution with these three bills with legislators that are working with us in this particular topic and area.
All right, I don't think we're going to be saying much on this one, but is there any questions or discussion on this item? Board Member Murdoch?
I just have one thing that I would encourage us to do is to, if we do adopt this tonight, that we do send this to Raymore, Peculiar, and Grandview, and the school districts who passed it last year as well, to make sure that they have essentially a template, right, and any changes that have been made.
I may have sent this draft already to them, but I will send it that it's been approved if it is approved.
Excellent, thank you, sir.
Any other questions? Okay, can I have a motion?
I move to approve the resolution as presented.
Second? Do I have a second?
Second.
Okay, all in favor, raise your right hand and say aye.
Aye.
Okay, none opposed, motion passes. Thank you.
Now we move on to items of information presentations. 8.01 board metrics, map and APR data, which stands for annual performance report. So I'm going to ask Dr. Matt Jones to come up and give the presentation, and I'll jump in here at one point.
Good evening, everybody. Take a minute to just review the academic achievements we had for last year. Starting off with MAP performance with ELA. As you can see here, our overall percent of proficient or advanced when compared to the state average. We outperformed the state by about 10%. In addition to that, MPI score-wise, as you can see, we scored about 20 points more than the state average. As a reminder, MPI is a calculation that DESE does based on the number of students who are below basic, proficient, or advanced. Then they put all those numbers in together to calculate that score. So the fewer students you have below basic moving up towards advanced, higher your MPI will be. This is just a visual to represent the proficient and advanced scores that each grade level had and compared to the state average. So as you will notice in all of our grade levels that we are exceeded the state average as well. In math, we have about almost a 15% increase above the state average again, and then our MPI points are about 31 points higher than what the state scored, which is a pretty significant gap there for us. And again, as reflected also in the ELA, at each grade level and in Algebra 1, again, outperforming the state averages, proficient or advanced percentages. In science, the trend continues as we are about 10% above the state average as well, and MPI scores, as you're looking in the hair, close to them, that as far as up to a little over 20%, there are 20 points there again, so a significant difference between our MPI score and the scores for the state. And as before, we only take science in 5th grade, 8th grade, and biology for the science assessments, and each area outperforming the state average. Special shout out to 8th grade and biology as they had a pretty big positive bump in scores this year. And then finally, we have social studies, which really is just American government EOCs. And as you can see here, again, a positive trend of looking at 16, almost 17% higher than the state average when compared. And our MPI total is, again, over 20 points higher than that of the states. And the visual there. Okay, now we're going to transition away from map. Oh, do you have a question?
Yeah, Board Member Murdock. Related to the scores, as we highlight increases, especially in science and 8th and biology, it would be helpful. I know that I get it. We're not supposed to compare year to year, right? I respect that. But at the same time, if we're going to highlight that we have an increase in achievement in 8th and biology, I think it would be helpful to present what the scores were last year up against the scores for this year, because we can still at least then from grade level to grade level get some kind of data as well. So if that could be provided, I would appreciate it. Just a snapshot of last year versus this year.
And Board Murdock, can I suggest that when we present that, we show the gap between how much we are above the state average, because sometimes tests get easier or harder. I can remember one year biology scores changed drastically because the difficulty of the test changed.
Yes.
So showing comparison state this year and show comparison state last year.
That part is fine because
Okay.
as we talked about even last year with cut scores getting differentiated and stuff like that on how we're even determining it, I get the changes in that, but I do think it would be helpful to at least have a little bit of a comparison.
And to clarify, that deliverable is going to be comparing last year's map scores to 2 years ago, because these are.
Yeah, sorry. Yes, that's correct. Thank you.
Thank you. All right, now we're going to transition into APR scoring from last year, which APR is the annual performance report provided by DESE. Essentially, it's a report card that measures how district performs each year. There's two main components within an APR. You have the performance scores, and then you have continuous improvement scores that provide points. Under performance, you have student status achievement, which is how well students performed at end of year assessments. Growth achievement is determined by looking at student scores within those assessments. They plug them into a formula and get a number, and then based on that number, they classify it and compare it to all the other districts in the state, and then assign points based on those. Success-ready students under performance go towards students who are taking college and career readiness assessments like ACT, as well as participation in advanced coursework. We have graduation rate, and then graduation follow-up at the end is our ability to connect and survey our post-grad students. On the continuous improvement side, we have our implementation and following of our CSIP plan, climate and culture survey that we provide. Success-ready students here encompasses the skills survey that we give of our kindergarten students, participation in ICAPS with our 8th grade, and then also this is where attendance falls in. And then required documentation just references required documents and timelines, and if we've met those based on DESE standards. So here's a breakdown of what our performance scores were for APR this year. You can see the points possible, the percentages that we earned for those points. A few things that I'll point out with in regards to the percentages of that, you'll see is that with the status and achievement, all of our student and all of our subgroup statuses for each assessed area either met the target themselves or were on track, so heading towards the target of where we'd like for them to be. Growth achievement, there's a new formula that DESE is using this year, and so that is kind of consistently impacted what it overall looked like, but I do think it's important to note that as we talked about NPI before, when we looked at this all students and subgroup NPI scores, all of them showed improvement from this year to last year in measurements of growth, and then all other areas remain stable.
All right, so I'm going to ask for the next slide. I'm going to take over, and I made sure I cover everything here. So we had not a good thing happen here. So before Dr. Jones finishes, I want to thank him for showing all this presentation, but I also want to show that our percentile rank in social studies, this is the percent of schools we are ahead of. So there's, think of about 500 plus school districts. We're ahead of 93.19% of social studies. And the reason I want to show that is because that's a discrepancy that you see baked into what you saw on the previous slide. And as that we received 0 points in our annual performance report. Our kids rocked the test, as you can see. We're one of the leaders in the state, so kudos to our teachers and staff. But we lost nearly 7 points because 6% of our graduating seniors did not take the American Government End of Course exam or the EOC. The state will not reward points if you exceed 5% not tested. I'm disappointed. There's a lot of people in this room disappointed by that. All means all, and last spring, we failed to meet that standard. We had a process that's worked for over 20 years, but last spring it failed. That process relied on one individual per building to get the job done. Dr. Jones is new this year, and kudos to him. He had already saw this was a potential issue in the future, not knowing that he was inheriting one that just happened, and was working with building testing coordinators to revamp the process. Seeing these scores, many of us in this room also saw, oh, this is a problem, and we jumped in and helped out as well, because this cannot and should not and will not happen again. Moving forward, multiple people will be involved, including building principals. These will also be oversight checklist with this work from this building, including Dr. Jones. We will request from DESE to open senior-only windows for early fall and early spring makeups and schedule kids to come in. We'll also utilize the normal windows. So American Government's a semester-level course, so there's a window in the fall and the spring, but sometimes those seniors are taking IB and AP courses as well, so there's competition for those. The reason we're going to have 4 windows, because we know that illness can cause someone to miss a chunk of time at any time. I thank Dr. Jones and the building testing coordinators for the work on this already. I also want to add clarity to the fact that this is a test that we should be proud of and shining, because that's an awesome score. And when I look at the kids not tested, I can tell you our teachers and kids rocked it, and our score would be even higher, our percent rank would be even higher had they taken it. The list of kids not taking it are vastly IB and advanced coursework students. I even see my own daughter in there who scored a 32 on the ACT, who did not get to take this test. All those kids taking the test, I assure you that score would be even higher. We'd be absolute leaders in the state. So even though this is an unacceptable error, our total APR is still ranked 3rd in the county out of 12 districts. We would have been right there at the top had we got those points. So students and staff, you continue to amaze, you continue to excel, and thank you for your hard work. Here's what I can tell you from our end. We now know better and we will do better. I believe Dr. Jones has worked very well with his testing coordinators to make sure this can never happen again. I appreciate him letting me and other people jump in and saying, let's make sure we get this right. And so he's got a great plan, and we can provide that at another point. We want to make sure we do a rinse test with our testing coordinators, but we have the plan and draft right now. But I thank him for that, and I thank Dr. Barger and the rest of the staff for helping out with that. Dr. Jones, I believe you have another slide, and then we'll answer questions as you need them.
Sure. So last but not least is just the continuous improvement portion of APR, in which we got all but 1 point. Within the success-ready students, we missed 1 point for attendance. And so then now, as you see overall, the 192 points possible with the factors that Dr. Buck mentioned, we achieved 80.4% of the total points.
Okay, at this time, I'm going to open it up for any questions from the board. Mr. Murdoch?
Small clerical, ask again here. We presented it in total number of points possible. Could we have it total points against the points possible instead of in percent so that
We could
we're not
sl-
calculating 78.1
We could slide the
48.
3 slides into one slide for
Right,
you, yes.
if you wouldn't mind. Thanks.
That's the 4th deliverable for tonight. I will do that.
Sorry, I have it pulled up right now if you want. It's 154.4 out of 192.
Thanks. Any other questions from the board? Okay, thank you, sir. Thank you.
Now we have items of information, written reports, 9.01 to 9.03. Hearing none, I'll move on to comments from public, item 10.01.
Okay, we have one public comment. I'll turn it over to Vice President, Board Member Eslick.
I'm sorry, it's every meeting. It's just really funny. Okay. I haven't practiced this in a little while, so. All right, we appreciate your attendance and your willingness to speak to the board. Please remember that the board does not respond to public comments during the meeting, but may ask clarifying questions. Your comments will be noted by the board and administration, and if appropriate, we will discuss further action with the superintendent. Only those who have signed up prior to the meeting will be allowed to address the board. Pursuant to board policy BDDH, we will be limiting all comments to no more than 7 people with a limit of 3 minutes each. You may not transfer any of your time to other speakers. Your allotted 3 minutes will be counted down on the screen. Please conclude your comments when the timer expires. Your comments must align with the subject described in your written request to speak and must directly relate to the business or operations of the district. Your comments may not discuss individual employees or students in the district, regardless of whether your comments speak of them in a positive or negative light. Any such comments should be directed to the superintendent, who will then determine if further action is needed. Because the board does not and cannot impose age-based restrictions on who attends or views board meetings, and because children of all ages frequently do attend board meetings, comments may not include obscenities or sexually explicit content. Furthermore, comments may not include threats of physical or emotional harm or threaten in any way the safety of others. We also remind all those in the audience that board policy BDDH prohibits the use of signs or audible noise responses. This includes applause, cheers, or jeers. If you are in the audience and wish to respond in some way to a public comment, you may contact the board or superintendent after the meeting. When your name is called, go to the podium and clearly state your name and the organization you represent, if any. First and only speaker tonight is Kristen Grubbs.
I emailed data graphics to the board members and Dr. Buck for reference tonight. For those who haven't heard me speak before, my name is Kristen Grubbs, and I am here in general as a concerned stakeholder. This evening, we heard data presented on our district's student proficiency rates as detailed in the state's annual performance report. As to be expected, they were only presented in comparison to the state's overall performance. What's unfortunate is that this comparison can give a deceptive view of what's really happening. I took the liberties of digging through the state data, as anyone can access it, and I did some charting of my own. Looking at MAP assessment results, our district's average math proficiency rate between 2011 and 2019 was 60.7%. In the 3 testing years since COVID, our average has dropped to 51.9%. This looks good compared to the state's 40.5%, but it ignores the time-proven fact that our district is not where it used to be. According to the state data, LSR7's ELA proficiency rate hit a peak in 2016 of 75.9%. Since then, we've seen decreases each year, the most significant being a 10.3% decline in 2018 and another 6.3% in 2021. Our current district-wide ELA proficiency rate at 52.9% is 23% less than our peak performance 7 years ago. Compared to the state's 43.7% proficiency, our district looks great. However, what these numbers don't show is that since 2021, the state has only dropped 1.6%, while Lee Summit has dropped 2.6%. Instead of comparing our students to the state's average, we should be comparing our students to themselves. If our district is truly committed to preparing each student for success in life, shouldn't we be following their individual progress? To do this, I again reference state-held data on ELA and math. Following students who were in 3rd grade in 2019 to them as 7th graders this year, that one cohort's ELA proficiency rate dropped 16.2%. The same cohort experienced a 4.5% drop in math. The prior cohort, who was in 4th grade in 2019 and is now in 8th grade, that class saw a 12.1% drop in ELA and 15% drop in math over the same years. There are 2 things I hope our district takes away from what I've shared tonight. 1, be transparent. Share the data in an honest way. It's okay to admit weaknesses. The only way we overcome these challenges is to face them head-on together. And 2, use these data points when discussing the new 3-year plan that's in committee right now. We cannot afford to shortchange our students.
Thank you. All right, and that adjourns our meeting.